Ew. Akil here with another addition to the Human Elements series that I have here. Could I have erased this board before I started? Yeah, totally could have. That's the nature of what I'm doing right now. It's the nature of what I'm doing right now. It's a little bit spontaneous combined with years of my own directed effort towards a singular aim. Concealing my aim until I was ready to carry out the mission. That's what smart people do, right? Okay. This is it. This is it right here. Okay? All right? You ready to get started? I don't know what your ritual is, how much time you got. Get comfy. Do it. Kick your feet up. Pop a cola. Know what I'm saying? Gather around the table, the hearth. You know? Wiggle your arms a little bit. Get a little bit loose. So what I'm going to get into today is domain. Domain. The relative, the absolute aspects, and nuances. Why would I do that? So that people can be better at being people. Why would I do that? Because I know where to strike, I know how to strike, and I hit pretty hard in the aspect that I'm referring to, which is the aspect which dwells in my domain, and I could give it a name, but I won't. You'll figure it out as I go along. There's so many things to say and not say, especially when it comes to your frustrations, right? Because when you're dealing with people, it's just like, and there's no right or wrong at the end of the day. That's where everything gets fuzzy, and then you enter a domain where there is a right and a wrong, and there's nothing else but right or wrong. How do you know when you're in a domain of one thing and when you exit it? Because it's all abstract. But it's still real, and it still unfolds in our reality and affects the unfoldings of all the happenings that happen. So right now I could call life a happening of happenings, right? There's one happen, and things happen in coherence with that happen, like the happenings and the relative, the absolute. And now I get to the whiteboard. Domain. It's kind of hard for me to actually verbalize like what I'm going to teach. It's way easier to teach it, especially with the way that I teach, which is apparently super effective, apparently, because I've been trying to offer it up to people so that it could be destroyed, but it keeps getting accepted. You know, after like 1,000 acceptances, as much as I would like to go back to the whiteboard, so to speak, and tinker and improve on my little formula that I've been working on for so long, you know, it's just like the people say. And then I have to take it a step further, because I can't just count on data from people in one domain, in one school of thought, in one culture. I have to expand so that what I'm dealing with is closer to reality. I don't believe right and wrong is not things that I aim for. I make meta aims, and if I don't have enough data to make a meta aim, I go on a search for the data, and I don't come to a conclusion unless I have data to make the conclusion. For the most part, when it comes to forming ideals, morals, and values that go to the subconscious mind, I'm on top of those things. So domain, relative, and absolute. I was at Washington Square Park the other day playing guitar. Almost forgot to spell absolute. Yikes. I was at Washington Square Park like yesterday or the day before yesterday. Playing guitar, just chilling, being authentic. I didn't have my bag out. There was no way you even look at me and think I was trying to get money. But I made $20 that day. It was a good day from one person. So that made it even more better, you know? What did that have to do with anything? Gratitude. A lot of people that I'm around, they sleep on it. And gratitude is one of the best ways to bring yourself to a rich present state. There's a richness in gratitude that brings you here, because to be grateful, you have to extract from things in present time. And it's like, okay, I'm challenging myself to become more grateful because someone gave me the advice to implement gratitude. Okay, so hypothetically, I follow that advice. So now I'm challenging my brain to extract, find all these different elements of gratitude and things that I could possibly be grateful for. And I make a true attempt. Just so you know, this was me at a certain point. I like to travel domains. I like to challenge myself to overcome certain obstacles within. And man, is gratitude an obstacle? How much of a nuisance people manifest to me to be when they're just always complaining? I don't complain about it. And I don't call people nuisances, even though when you complain a lot, that's how you show up to me. And it's like, wow, you're committed to not doing anything. And that's something I won't stand for going forward. So many things in as far as the way we process our thoughts gets lost in all of this right here. The relative and the absolute. Life has a duality aspect to it, and because of that duality, paradoxically, it has a non-duality. And it's important to know when you're dealing with elements of non-dual and dual things so that you can act in an appropriate manner. And a lot of people find themselves in situations where it's like, well, how do I act in an appropriate manner? That's a very subjective question, which is why this thing that I'm trying to do right now could be considered impossible by some. But you know, I aim and I shoot. And man, my arrow is flying right now. So how do we bring all these things together? Relative things as they relate to you personally. So relative has a very personal aspect. An absolute, let me see, relative, specific. You know, you get into specifics, you're relating to something, and absolute is just more encompassing, you know, it has more space, so it's general. right? I'm just writing down some attributes, something that would be absolute. Absolute things they have a aspect of permanence to them. Is that what I want to use? I think I'll leave it there because I'm running out of words. Today I was watching a story about a particular friend of mine, and she was expressing her troubles regarding her experience. And her experience, amongst many others, is what I'm tackling, right? I'm tackling multiple experiences at once because those experiences have one cause. And I found the cause after traversing through so many domains. And I realized that the cause is lack of mastery combined with being in an environment that does not value mastery. So, what is the human element? Well, the human element is mastery, baby. What am I teaching? I'm not teaching anything. I'm guiding myself and others towards mastery. And whoever can contribute and will contribute will. And whoever wants to watch and watch will. But this is happening. Why? Because it seems like things that shouldn't need to be said need to be said. And after a while, it's like, man, I shouldn't have to say this. And then more time passes, and it's like, I said that I shouldn't have to say this hundreds of times. Clearly, I have to say this. And being that we've gone past the hundreds, I would go as far to say that saying it isn't enough. It needs to be rooted, it needs to be championed, it needs to be on a flag. You know, it needs to be embodied. The human element needs to be embodied, both by the masculine and the feminine. Man, I've been tapping into some feminine beings. What? They are doing their job. They are doing their job. Don't even want to get into that. Definitely going to stay on the masculine side because there's a lot of turbulence. And it's difficult to deal with these things, but watch how I span this apart. I'm going to break myself apart. So I'm going to give you a piece of me, something you may or may not have known. I grew up very intelligent. I skipped first grade. I had a certain experience in first grade that gave me the belief that being smart was not okay because I was physically forcibly removed from one classroom to another. Was it right? Was it wrong? Blah, blah, blah. How I internalized it at the very tender age that I was not optimal. How could it be? I was at a tender age. For me to have an optimal conclusion would be miraculous. Truly. In every lesser and greater iteration of the word. Like, it's just truly, if that were to happen. One thing I am proud that I've done is realize that because my circumstances and my ability to have a say in things has changed. That I was now in a more responsible position. And because I was in a more responsible position, that means that the way that I apprehended my reality before, as far as a need to maintain myself, does not have to be any longer. And that could be a metaphor for maturity of some kind. At some point, you're just going to reach, you're going to grow, and you're going to increase in your faculties, the things that are natural to you, and you're going to be able to do more. And doing more, capacity-wise, implies that you should be doing more. As humans, we have free will. So we can decide not to do that. And free will, that's being questioned as well. Which is why the human element is here. The human element is about power. So over here, we're free will people over here. You know? On my last video and the video previous to that, I'm somewhat coming out of it. You know, nobody's perfect. But I do deal with limiting beliefs, and I deal with my experience of being an intelligent person. What was that experience? Well, amidst many other things, it's not just me being intelligent. If it was just intelligence, a lot of times when there's a problem, if it's just one thing, right, then it's not something that takes years of your life, usually. If it's something that's elusive, that means there's multiple elements and you kind of have to search in a way that you don't even know how to search in a way to find the element. And then when you get the element, if you get the element, then you have to learn how to implement the element. That's a whole thing. I've come across many people who don't even make it past the first part. Okay? The human element is for people who are like me, who are way beyond the first point. We are set on becoming better, what? Humans. People. Representatives of our divine capacity and infinite potential to rise. How else could we be here if there wasn't some element of humanity that contributed to things sustaining? That's why in troubling times when people don't know what to do, I'm a pillar. Why is that? Because I have my own layout for the world. I've separated. I'm not at a point to where I can say I've mastered myself confidently. But I've traversed amongst different domains to have a level of mastery. Certainly a level of mastery that keeps revealing itself to me to be higher than the people that I'm accustomed to engaging with. Is that a problem? It depends. Depends on what? Depends on the domain. Everything comes down to the domain. And if I had to give you some more concrete information to how you can implement this ideology of the domain that I'm basically just farting out at this point, to be reinforced as I go along. The relative is the things as man knows them, and the absolute is things as God knows them. See, the beautiful thing about the domain is if you respect the domain, you gain the benefits that would come from being human. There's a lot of ways I could have worded that. But what do I mean? Well, there's a domain and relative because I understand that I am an individual, right? And I have an aspect of individuality. I understand that there's a way that I understand things that represents the capacity that I understand things. And that's not, when I say I, right, because relative is the things as man understands them. And for my people who are a little bit past the 90s, because once you go past the 90s, there was not, when you said man, there was not like an uproar or anything. Anyway, I don't even care. Anyway, man, human, as man knows them. Absolute is the things as God knows them. If you have previous negative interactions with other conceptualizations of God, that's okay. I have my own conceptualization of God. And because I have a great understanding of domain, I understand that my understanding of God is relative to me. And God's understanding of God is absolute, and I could never enter that domain unless I leave my own relative domain. How would that happen? I'm on this plane now, so I'm going to stick with the job that I'm doing right now. Let's not get carried away. Investing our energy towards pointless aims. Are they enticing? Yes. Does that move you away from your objective to aim your questions in that manner? Yes, because you get caught up in the whimsicalness of it all. This has everything in it. The whimsical, the mundane, and everything serves this purpose in their domain. So I understand that I have my own personal relationship with God. I understand that talking about God makes some people uncomfortable because they have previous interactions with other people's conceptualizations of God that do not fit with their internal value system. And that's fine. I mean, in this land, I'm in America right now. If you understood how religion was worked into law, it basically plays out like that. Hey man, pick a god. You don't want to? Okay. That's all there in legislation. I said I was going to start this video in a particular way and I didn't. So put the domain on pause for a second. I'm going to read to you the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'm reading from my Kindle right now, and it's old, so the browser's loading. But I already had the page open. So after I read this in my best of reading voices, I'll get right back to what I was talking about. But I gotta do this. Okay, you ready? I'm pretty sure after this, I'm gonna be a little more fired up than I am. So it's gonna be fun too. To exit your with the of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want, and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Whereas it is essential, if man is not to be compelled to have recourse as a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by the rule of law. Whereas it is essential to promote the development of friendly relations between nations. Whereas the peoples of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of men and women, and have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life and larger freedom. The human element. The human element was here before I was here, and even though the media has so many ways to make you believe that the human element isn't right here in your face, I'm still alive, and I have so many family, and we're doing the work. Here I am. I'm sorry I keep interrupting. Whereas common understanding of these rights and freedoms is of the greatest importance for the full realization of this pledge. Now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this universal declaration of human rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance, both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the peoples of territories under their jurisdiction. A lot of big words, I understand them for the most part. That was the preamble. Things like that is why I'm here. I'm here because I'm here. And it's like, I'm tired of the circus. Done with the people who aren't tired of the circus. Look them in the face. have a conversation about the ill. Seems to have air of energetically perceive people who mad keys. Oh, you want this key? You want this key? Does this key look nice? When because I'm the kind of person how do I win? How do I win a game like that? I'm smart, but I'm thrust in an environment to where people don't realize the heart. Like, I use my smarts to test people's hearts. People don't know I'm testing their hearts. So when I enter my smarts and you challenge my smarts trying to use big words and stuff, bro, I read books for fun. Do you? If you don't challenge me. I'm not doing this to sound smart. I'm doing this because I am smart and I care and I have some keys to share. So, me playing a human game, sometimes I find my human game being interrupted by the games of social institutions. I have an astounding control over my domain. I've customized it. And the way that I customized it left space for people to do certain things. Now I'm entering a space to where it's just like, oh, this area of my domain that I was leaving open is really supposed to be closed. And there's other parts of my domain that's supposed to be open. And that's what this is all about, right? Who can tell me most about my domain unless they've traversed within those waters? And that's what it means to get good advice or have someone really good in your corner, right? It means someone's been walking through the waters. They've been waiting. And because of that, they have the experience of moving even though they're weighted down. And when you're going through your storms, that kind of advice could really help, because you get a little heavy when you go through your storms, just a little bit. But this is not a common problem for people who express that they're smart, right? What does it come down to? It comes down to the domain. You got to know the relative and the absolute. What's the problem? I don't know. Lay out your relatives. What are my relatives? Well, my relatives is I'm intelligent. I don't care to play the game of society as far as because I can think for myself, marriage, I'm gonna save that. I can do that way better. I'm gonna come back to the domain. I figured it out. I'm gonna break myself down after this because I'm really gonna get fired after this. Fired up, sorry. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. Cool. Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, religion, political, or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and a slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment. Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. All are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or law. I'm going to say that again, in case you didn't hear me. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or law. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. Everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. Everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to a law in a public trial at which he has had all the guarantees necessary for his defense. No one shall be held guilty for any penal offense on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a penal offense under national or international law at the time when it was committed, nor shall a heavier penalty be imposed than the one that was applicable at the time for the penal offense was committed. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of law against such interference or attacks. Everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and return to his country. Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. This right may not be invoked in the case of prosecutions generally arising from non-political crimes or from acts contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. Everyone has a right to a nationality. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality nor denied the right to change his nationality. How you guys feeling so far? You fired up? I'm fired up. I mean, I don't know what you got from this yet. I feel like I didn't. There's a couple of keys out here. That's all I'm saying. There's a couple of keys. Hope you're getting them. Just extract, you know. Men and women of full age without any limitation due to race, nationality, or religion have the right to marry and to found a family. They are entitled to equal rights as to a marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution. Marriage shall be entered into only with the free and full consent of the intending spouses. The family is a natural and fundamental group unit of society, is entitled to protection by society and the state. Everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief and teaching. I botched that up. I'm just going to do it over. Bleh, okay? Bleh. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes the freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media regardless of frontiers. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. Everyone has the right to freedom and peaceful assembly of association. I'm just doubling down on the ones that I like. I'm sorry, I might be a little bit biased. Maybe towards the human. Crazy, right? Everyone has the right to take part
in the government of his country directly or through freely chosen representatives. Everyone has the right of equal access to public service in his country. The will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. This will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections, which shall be by universal and equal suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalence free voting procedures. Everyone as a member of society has a right to social security as an entitled to realization through national effort and intentional cooperation and in accordance with the organization and resources of each state of the economic, social, and cultural rights indispensable for his dignity and the free development of his personality. This ethic and moral here, you could learn how to be a better human simply by listening to this and allowing yourself to be. People have died horrendous deaths to extract these elements and put it in this document. People have suffered in a domain, in a time where leaving such a domain meant sure physical danger, sure death, guaranteed torture. So many things. People died to bring this thing together, man. There's already people who learned these lessons for us. Let's not underplay the human element, right? Especially when we see that the human element is only suppressed by people who talk. The people who talk the most now. That's it. The only thing that can happen on the front of what's happening right now as far as a mass scale is people policing other people. That's it. Oh, you, police you. I mean, that's the only way that can work, right? If you're going to divide and conquer, you have to set a culture to where dividing culture is normal. Divide and conquer is normal. So everyone is dividing and conquering themselves. Except for the people who have made it this far into this video. We are not dividing. We are multiplying. Because we're the ones that's supposed to be multiplying. Who's taking office right now? Who are the representatives, you know? How many people are losing their faith in humanity right now because of people that are not showing up as their true authentic self? So let me I gotta finish this, man. I gotta finish this, man. How can you, I hope that you're not one of them people, you lose faith in humanity, right? There comes a time when you're given the answer, you're given a solution, you know what the solution is, and you just don't put it to work. You know how hard I got rocked as an intellectual when I found out that my natural desire to learn, which excited me genuinely on a spiritual level, had to be accompanied by action? You know how much that messed me up? A lot. Because as an intellectual, it makes a lot of sense. Oh, I'm learning this. Yeah, it kind of makes sense that I'd have to do something with it eventually. It adds up. So I have the choice. I could be one of those people who point fingers and they say this is the problem when really they're the problem. Or I can break myself down, figure out how I can become less of the problem, up until the point to where I'm not part of the problem anymore, which it seems like I'm at. Okay, so I've traversed myself out of a certain domain, a domain that is not natural to me. So it seems like I'm moving towards where I'm supposed to be moving. It's where I wanted to go. People are very happy when I'm around. Does that take away from my internal doubt and my internal challenges that I've dealt with over the years? No, not at all. Does those internal doubts, internal challenges inhibit me completely from being free? No, not at all. Being free is a choice. Why don't I choose to be free? Well, men are weak. Men are really weak. Men are super weak. So now I have to take all of my effort that I've done to extract information from men to see where their head is at. And I have to put it in a way that Akil knows can contribute to people being more human. Because girls got their own thing going on, and I had my trouble with them growing up, specifically because I was dealing with women who were not of my domain. Still learning what my domain is. My domain is being made as I go along. I haven't been acting in a way to where I can engage in the love that I wanted to engage in pretty much all my life. I haven't earned it for myself, relatively speaking. I've gotten close to it and I pushed it away. It means I got some more work to do. And this is why I'm doing the work. I'm doing what I need to do so when I get around what I want to get around, I don't push it away. Why do I keep pushing things away? It's because you have your own idea of your best self and you are not making any forward movement towards that best self. Really. I'm not saying you're not trying, but the actual forward movement isn't there. It's all good. I'm here. It's the human element. The human element is going to push you forward. You know why? Because you're a human. Especially if you made it this far. Everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and to protection against unemployment. Everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work. Everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself and his family an existence worthy of human dignity, and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Yikes! That one shook me up a little bit. I have to say that more clear because I've been botching some of these, even though I still read good. Everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself and his family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Everyone has the right to form and to join trade unions for the protection of his interests. Everyone has a right to rest and leisure, including reasonable limitation of working hours and periodic holidays with pay. Everyone has a right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his control. Human elements. Humans came together and they decided to take circumstances into consideration and embrace those circumstances and the things that happen with the spirit of redemption. Hence this document. Something I'm trying to embolden, something I'm trying to highlight, something I'm trying to make more prevalent, or something I am becoming. I'm not trying to make this more prevalent. It will become more prevalent because I am becoming more prevalent and this is a part of me. So, keeping to my ongoing prevalence, the human element will soar on and humans will contribute. That will be good. Will be great. Motherhood and childhood are entitled to special care and assistance. All children, whether born in or out of wedlock, shall enjoy the same protection. Everyone has a right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. I'm pretty sure I burped in the last video too. I'm about to probably have an iconic burp for each one of these videos. I'd be, unique. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. Parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. These people, they apprehended great ills and atrocities that happened to the human. And they highlighted it. They put it in a document, and they made it to where, I'm not sure how to verbalize this. They made it to where I'm able to read this to you today. So, though I am one man who has assessed himself to still be missing a lot of experience in other domains, I'm capable. I can start something. I can hold something together until people find where they need to be and invest energy where they need to invest their energy. I can do that. Everyone has the right to freely participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancements and its benefits. Everyone has the right to protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. Everyone is entitled to a social or international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. He thought about it. He really thought about it. Everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. Everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. In the exercise of his rights and freedoms, everyone shall be subject only to such limitations as are determined by law, solely for the purpose of securing due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others, and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in a democratic society. These rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. I'm glad I got through that. I said I was gonna do something and I did it. When I end this video, I'm gonna be on cloud nine. Specifically because, well, yeah, I'm gonna be on cloud nine. I'm gonna feel really good. How are you feeling? I said a lot of words just now. I read 30 iterations just now from that document. I feel as though if I were speaking to fellow human beings, especially if those human beings had any interaction with the myriad of elements of oppression, suppression, and depression, I would feel as though one of those things pump you up. Probably not like, but a little pump. Get that little pump because people came, there was intent behind it. I mean, it's there. Surrounded by weakness. And weakness manifests in the things that people say can and can't be done. And a lot of that is from men. This is a very interesting time in my life. Looking back, I perceived my experiences in a particular way. I would say that I have an affinity for love. I have an earnest heart's desire for relationship. And I think that completes it. So I have that earnest desire, and I grew up just throughout my life not really connecting with the ladies like I would have liked to. And in situations like, rejection, you have to deal with it. And then there's constant rejection to the point to where you feel as though you're not really getting anywhere. So you get far along that point of rejection to where you feel as though maybe you're supposed to be getting some action, and action is just reciprocation. I'm not talking about anything physical. It's just I interact, you reciprocate, and then we do that. That didn't happen for me, and there's so many things that I've come across now that I'd like to help uncover, so that some men and some women and some people can learn from what I'm extracting from my own experience, right? So, what is the term? Tate. Guy Tate. Andrew Tate. Shit. Incels. Yeah. I knew I was gonna remember that. Incels. And it's something that I would love to break down because different people have different things that they value, and if you grow up in values have something that's interwoven into the spirit of man, right? Like your personality, the things that you do and you don't do, the values and the morals, that's all interwoven there. Even if you don't think about morals or ethics or something of that, those still tie into a moral and an ethic. And it's like, okay, so you don't really value, and that's values, right? You don't really value a way of looking at the world in which you could be better through it. Because that's what moral and ethics is. It's like, okay, there is a way when we come to the table that we act so that the ritual of coming to the table is as fruitful as could possibly be for all the varying members of the family. We're coming up on a lot of discord now, right? Like for me personally, I'm not gonna say I'm weak, because dealing with words, I understand how damaging that can be. But for the process of teaching, I understand that I have my elements of weakness and I wrestle with those weaknesses in a very authentic manner, and that gives me the capacity to be vibrant, because I'm handling domains in the way that the domain is supposed to be handled. So did I grow up being rejected by women constantly, and when I wasn't so rejected I was shy and did not engage, which led to prolonged isolation? Yes. Did that make me resentful? No. Why? Because I understood enough of what was happening with me to not take it so seriously. And also, I just gave up on a very general level. Honestly, after, you don't get to, so I got to talk to a girl. It's like, I don't think girls like me. And it's like, well, I don't think they like me. It was like, because if they liked me, they would act different towards me. Ew. That's not a no. Something else. One, ew, it's not enough to go into the subconscious mind, right? I mean, if you could just say no, you could say no. You don't say no. There's a disgust element to it. So there's something about me that's disgusting. That's very extreme. I mean, because ew is very specific. And it's so specifically different from no that there's no way that you could deny the validity in my perception that there's an element of disgust in it. Okay. So now, as an individual, I hear ill as I'm making my attempts constantly. Okay, so now there's a theme, and there's a theme of disgust. So, not only is it challenging for a man to put himself out there, but I mean, if you just get shot down, you can make it back. But if you just never sink your teeth into anything, you make a good 60 attempts, and the majority of them are ills, it's like, I quit. What do you mean you quit? Done. I have other things that I can invest my energy towards, clearly. This is painful. This hurts. Not gonna lie to you. My HP is not even here. Like, does it say that my character's alive because my character's still standing and doing the animation of the fight? Yeah, but you can't even see any color in my HP. I have 1 HP. Done. Let me get out of here before I die, right? So how did I handle that? I just gave up. And it's like, oh, women don't like me, so I don't have to try with women anymore. Interesting. And there's different ways to handle that. The way that I handled that was the way that I handled it. That's the way that I handled it. But then it's easier to fall into another side of things, which is the resentful side of things. I mean, I didn't become resentful because I'm a genius and I have a good heart. It's like, okay, they don't want me. I'll quit. I don't like being a nuisance to someone. It's like, if the data says that I'm a nuisance, I'll leave you alone. And so I got really good at leaving women alone, which turned out to reverse at some year in my life. It just had an opposite effect.
It's like, why are you here right now? But when that initially started happening, I started getting angry because I still sympathized with, I guess, the incel ideology. It's just like, no, there's a group of men out here. They try. They get folded. I'm not gonna lie to you. They just get obliterated. And it's like, yo, bro, you're not worthy. Okay, and there's so many things that come up with that. Like, I started coming out of my domain after training within myself. Like, I play guitar, right? So after a certain amount of years playing guitar on my own, my spirit was telling me, you know, this is really good. You're gonna get better at this, but not on your own. You learned everything that you could possibly learn on your own. Get out there. Started meeting different kinds of women who inhabited different kind of experiences from the territory that they were in. We all come from different territories, our cultures, our territories, and they have domains, and their domains come with their own cultural ethics and morals. If I was to leave my Brooklyn residence and go to work, happens a lot. If you're not smiling over there, you know, because smiling is a cultural ethic, even when you're not happy, it's considered polite to smile. And if you don't smile at someone, even you don't smile at someone, then you're someone who can't be talked to. Now, is that an intelligible way to connect with people who are outside of your domain? I mean, who am I to say? I didn't grow up in that domain. But I do see the ways in which that domain is flawed. You have to talk to people to know whether or not the person that you're talking to is who you think you are. There's no other way. So if you're in a domain and, you know, mostly European people, and people like to smile even though they're not happy, that's considered part of the moral and ethical social structure, and people don't really say what they need to say in the way that it's said. They filter it in a passive aggressive manner, because saying things like it is bad in that culture. So in their domain, they have all the problems that belong in their domain, right? What kind of problems would happen when you're in a culture to where the valid expressions of valid people are not being validated? Well, shit gets swept under the rug. I'm not in the domain of Europeans enough to know what's under their rug. They have a way better idea of what's under their rug across the board in their culture. I'm starting to hear things about therapy that's very general, right? It's like, okay, in your domain, you have a lot of things that are not being said, so you need therapy, or most of your people need therapy to talk about the things that are going on. But that's very absolute, right? The therapy is like the absolute description. Okay, now the relative would be the specific things that they're going to talk about. I'm willing to guess if you breach the privacy, you gather data and try to find a commonality between all the problems that all the people in that specific culture, you know, there's plenty of them. People who are passive aggressive and smile all the time and think that if you don't smile then you're a bad person, and shit gets swept under the rug. I didn't hit a lot of the points of the culture, but I'm highlighting specific ones to propose a specific solution or apprehension, so to speak. Just a lens. Why do people go to therapy?
If you were to ever go to therapy, what are you going to therapy for? You're going for perspective. I mean, you have a problem, and the way that you see things is not real enough to handle the problem as it really is. So when you approach this problem, which probably has elements from a domain outside of something that you willingly engage with, right? Because to become stronger, you have to willingly engage in the elements of another domain. You have to put yourself out there. Hey, if you're solo, if you're a fish out of water, see how long you can flop. See how long you can breathe that air without dying. And when you hit your limit, get back in the water. But why? You just need lenses, right? People have problems because they can't see. People need to go consult with others because they can't see. If they could see, that would be great, because then they would see what really needs to be done. And then we could move over to the next challenge, which is doing it. Because some people are really good at doing things and other people are not. Me personally, I had to work on doing things. I'm just now making my forward steps in a domain that's foreign to me, which is the domain of action, right? And action is supposed to be a great pillar of men. Men are supposed to act. And I have so many things that I don't act on, to where in my own analysis, I don't feel comfortable saying that I'm a man. There's just too many domains that men cover traditionally for men to say that I'm a man. Also, didn't help that I grew up hearing ill a lot. It's like, okay, clearly I'm disgusting. I must be incomplete. There's something about me that needs to go away. And maybe there's even something about me that's not even with me that I could add. And there starts the journey. Okay, women don't like me, I'm gonna work on myself. After a while, see people on a train holding hands. It was rough. I was like, oh wow, that looks nice. Those guys talking, communicating, cool. A little sad. And after a while, just get strong. It's like, wait, I can do things on my own. I started learning about my domain and the things that I actually could do. The things that I wasn't even supposed to be doing at the level that other people were doing it. Truth is, I have no business doing things at the level that most people do things. The truth is, I'm a very specific kind of guy. I break myself down and I reform myself into the shape of my liking. It's very specific. In my environment, for me to, I guess, enter the dating scene, if that's how I'd word that, then I'd have essentially become a slave, because people like becoming slaves, because how else do you engage in the way that people do things now, as far as dating is concerned? That's not slave-like. And I mean, it's been slave-like for such a long time, because the human element has been missing from just a substantiating in dating. I mean, if people who don't care about people are the most frequent people to engage in dating, because not everybody dates. People have different ways of finding their mates. Like, people live their lives and they run into people who do similar things, and then they live their lives together. It's not dating, it's living your life. I think living life is a little more my style. wherever my very specific domain of women are, they'll find me after I inhabit the space that I was meant to inhabit, which is the space of the intellectual. I mean, during the time when the whole Roe versus Wade thing happened, women were under attack, but they were under a kind of attack that wasn't really an attack. To get them emotionally charged to fight against something that, if they fought against, would cripple them. Still happening. Still happening. And that's another reason why I came to the human element. I mean, what kind of human would I be if I was an intelligent human who could clearly lay out the ways in which people are being lied to, and I said nothing? I mean, I have a whiteboard. I'm way past saying nothing. I'm in breakdown mode. I'm in breakdown mode, bro. Because I care. No, it was challenging to bring myself from a place of caring and not doing. Okay, so why aren't you doing it, Akil? It's like, well, people, how they feel. It's always just people. This person's going to feel that way. They might not like this. And then there's the other side of it, which is a side that's way more human. It's just like, bro, drop them. We have romanticized ideals, romanticized by naivety of people who are rooted in intellect and hold intellect to a height to where they think intellect handles things outside of the domain of intellect. So that's where ego comes in, right? I'm smart. I'm not trying to play because I'm smart. Let's throw big words and let's try to say something that someone else said so that we can seem smart. We're not having a conversation. The whole reason why I'm talking about this like this is because I care. Oh, wow. That's why when I have conversations with these people, it unfolds in this manner. It makes so much sense because they dwell within the domain of not caring. They are so much more accepting to the limits and the fear. Well, you gotta pick one. You in the presence of a God, my G. Like, I clipped people from my life before. I dropped people from my life before. I don't have a problem doing it to anybody in my life now. Family, I already ran all my test runs. It's like, if I needed to drop you, could I drop you? Talk to my dad. See if I could say certain things to him. Just so I could say certain things to him. It's like, if I could say something, if I could say this, I could cut him off when I need to. Do a little test run with my dad. I was like, yeah, I said it. I'm strong enough to cut him off if it ever comes to. Talk to my bros. See if I care about their feelings so much that I can't say certain things. And I'm like, it's challenging. It's like, I care, but it's seeming like, that at some point I may need to let go. Because I care. And I was like, I ain't going to keep caring and be around people who ain't caring. Now I got to, man, I've been talking like this for mad long, right? Kind of person you gotta be to hear me talk about human element. I'm talking about nobility, and that's so frequently that it's part of my character. So frequently that it's part of my character. What kind of person you think I am? Man, I'm done talking to y'all, man. A little bit of ignorance is okay. Go over there, bro. I read books. And if it's not reading books, I'm listening to somebody who's read books. If I'm not listening to somebody who's read books, I'm working on myself. I play guitar, work on the craft. I dance, work on the moves. Training. What's the aspect that I'm training in? Because I have an idea of domain, when there's something else that I can't work on, I always move to another domain. There's always a domain for work to be worked on. Always. Hence the human element. I always step outside of my domain. I'm just a man. God is not a man. Think God is a man? Oh, I'm about to crack your head right now. They attacking all fronts, right? So religion took a heavy hit. You can't really attack religion. Like, the media can only attack a certain way if you don't know things. And when you exit your domain, you empower yourself. You empower yourself in a way that's true, right? Can you read that? Manipulator. Man. Do a little one of these, man. I got so much that I'm trying to. God is not a man. So they attack religion by shining a light on something that's already been done for so long. Which is funny, right? There's always been the true Christians, true Muslims, the true Jews, the people who really believe in the word and strive to, even though they believe in the word, further their understanding of the domain that they're dwelling within by opening themselves up to the aspects that the domain reveals to them are part of the domain. That's what happens when you're truly seeking. When you're truly seeking, you truly find. And if you don't truly seek, you're truly lost. Oh, but what does it mean to truly seek? Well, look. And look like you mean it. Look like you're trying to find. Look because you want to find something. Look because you need to find something. Look because you need to find something. I had my time with God. I had my time as an atheist. You know how much I learned since then? You think certain things are absolute and they're fixed because society told you that they're fixed, but they're relative and they fall within your relative domain. Once you take control of your relative domain, you seize your relative matrix. And then you have an ability to construct your matrix as you see fit. The matrix is a product of relative and absolute because the matrix wouldn't be here without us. We are the abstractors. There is no matrix without us because without us, there's no one to contemplate the tiger. Name it a tiger. Contemplate the bear. Name it a bear. Analyze it. Label it. All that goes when human goes. Value goes. What value? What value? Oh, you mean you. You are value because you are the thing that gives value to a thing. And that's what this is all about, baby. I've lived my life having my own values. And I see a theme. It's like, I can't have my own values. It's like, you need to be a member of the cult. And people who are part of a cult, some of them get weird when they hear the word cult. It's like, bro, you're in a cult. And you, if anything, you donate blood often. Let's say that. You donate blood often to your cult. Come on, bro. Come on. It's not nobody trying to be better than nobody. You dwell in the realm of ego. All you can do is fear ego from another person. And that's what projecting is, right? If you're a piece of shit, you have all these piece of shit ways that you deal with things. So when you see another person, you get a little scared. You know, I'm a piece of shit. If I was in your position, I might do this to me. Start projecting. Hey man, we all in our own domain. Just because you suck don't mean that everybody sucks, okay? You know what I'm saying? If you want to stop being defensive, you could totally stop doing that. All you got to do is redirect your energy in ways that leads you away from the mold that you're currently fitting in. Relative. You need what would benefit you is to gain control of your relative matrix. Personal, specific. This is the best time to be alive. Best time. Are we being weaponized against each other? Yeah, because it's the best time to be alive. So much blood was shed. And now we're in a point to where the evil is slipping on its grip. At least in the sense of me being here right now and starting this and continuing the legacy of the ideals and morals, or at least some of them described in the declaration that I shared with you guys today. And I mean, those aren't all the morals and all the ideals and all the ethics that I'll be going over. But I'm human, finding myself trying to make things make sense. And people try to make me make sense to them. It's like I could simplify it. I could simplify it, make it real simple. Even though to me, I'd be scratching my head like, damn, I keep talking to them and they just don't get it. Like, I'm just so out of reach for you. You know how that makes me feel? To all who care about me and respect my word. You know how wild it is to be an amazing person? Know the elements of your domain that contribute to what makes you amazing, and to watch people voraciously stay outside of the domain of what you know makes humans powerful. That's wild. So I'm powerful and I'm free. You start to see me as someone who's less chained than you. Okay. I tell you that you're a slave. What happens? I'm not trying to... You think I'm making this video to convince the world? Nah. I did sales. I'm way smarter than that. And that's why I have to keep doing these videos, because I've lived my life at a fraction of myself because I was denying my intelligence. At this point, I'd rather have the people who perceive me to be arrogant bow down, admit that I'm superior to you, or leave. And I'm not even going to have that happen. I don't even want that as a thing. The whole bowing thing is actually very symbolic. The for you to be able to bow, there has to be humility and respect, a combination of many things for you to even make the motion of bowing, right? There's ethics and morals in that. If you ever watched the old karate flick, a karate master. And what do karate masters do? They live their lives. They couldn't be masters any other way unless they live their lives. They're secluded. They have their domain. They know everything that happens in their domain, and the people who come there, they're ragdolls compared to the master. You came to me, you came to my domain. Okay, so now I'm the student. I'm hearing word. I'm looking for guidance. I'm just speaking from a different timeline, from a different being right now. Okay, so just work with me right here. Okay, so I'm interested. I'm trying to find a master. I'm trying to evolve myself and my capabilities to wield myself, to master my ability to make motions and gain control over my physical domain. How well do you know your physical domain? Have you played with your physical domain? Have you tested its limits? There's so many things you're not doing that you could do if you tested your limits. But if you're not in a domain of a human being who believes that humans could be better, you probably won't do things like that. Makes sense though, as a human being, conquering is innate because of the capacity. The natural domain that we have on this earth supersedes the territory that every other organism inhabits. And how did we get here? There's a meme, I think it's with Defoe, and he's looking up and he's like, it's literally an image of like hell coming down. It's like the sun is just falling, and all you can do is just look at it. That would be my equivalent description for if you were to go back in time as a human. It's just a beautiful world, so much more vibrance. Probably the sun has a different hue of orange, maybe. It's just gorgeous. And there's monsters everywhere. Everywhere you look, it's just everything can eat you. Everything you see can eat you, and it's like bro, like 3 times the size. Like how? You, 3 times the size of you. We made it to this point to where we have walled cities, infrastructures, and all these systems and systems for systems. It's incredible how much gratitude is lost in ignorance, right? Because that's what ignorance does. Ignorance allows you to be less human. And people today, they like that concept because it's easy. But over here, we don't do easy things. We do hard things because if we don't, then we're not people. And we are people. So we do what must be done. And if people never were, then we would never be. Because there's plenty of people who know how to do damage and aren't cleaning it up, aren't trying to. They're not a lot, but they do enough damage to where if there's not someone in another domain who has skills along the lines of making order, bringing things to a sensible place, that's power. Human potential is so understated today, isn't it? Why do I have to have some of the conversations do I have to have? I don't know. That's why I don't have them. I'm not even talking to these people. It's amazing. I grew up in this domain of just lesser. It's just lesser magic. And I've been studying certain things, and I'm exiting this domain with people who use lesser magic, and because of their ideologies and their fears, they can't help but to use their lesser magic on me. Because I perceive all these things in detail, there is an element of offense, because these things that they think are happening in their head that are actually smart and concealed are actually the lowest grade and very easy for me to see, right? And this is why I prefer to be around people
who can actually speak or have the heart to speak, because then we can get to the bottom of why I may be a piece of crap, you may be a piece of crap, and figure out the domain and the specific elements in the domain that you need work on. Maybe you don't need to remove an entire part of yourself. Like me, I didn't when I was thrust with that heavy weight of, wow, girls don't like me. Wow, I'm gonna be alone for a long time. I went inside my domain and I handled it, baby. I just used truth. I'm like, man, I'm good. I'll make it. I don't even want it that bad. That was a part two. It was like the domain that I was in when I was growing up, as far as a man is, man, you gotta want it. And not only do you gotta want it, but sex is the goal, baby. I wish I had the kind of advice for a man who's supposed to dwell within the domain that I'm supposed to dwell. I wish I had that advice to become that kind of man. But the domain and the domain in which my culture's ideals and ethics and morals are grounded in is lesser than human, and it's, of my opinion, as far as the ability to give the person their autonomy and treat people like people and encourage them to be people to the best ability that they can. A lot of those elements are lacking in my culture, and I'm not saying anything new. I'm not trying to package this in a certain way to try to sell it to anybody, because the story's been told to me already. And it's like, okay, it's very clear to see that things are going wrong. Some people care more than others. That's it. No, I realize I care a lot, and I realize I'm wasting my words on people who don't care as much. 1 + 1 = 2, right? Yeah, I do math. Do a little math in my day. Do a little math in my day. For all the people who say that the math ain't math, and those are my people. But I still have my energy somewhat tied to people who can't do math, right? Not only can't do math, they don't value doing math or see the value in learning how to do math. I mean, if you were a person after everything that's happened, you would be geared towards, if not doing math, learning how to do it. So there's nothing to be said, because everything that needs to be said has been said. That's why in this particular thing, there's specific things that I'm saying in this, specific things that I'm not saying, because I'm talking to a specific type of people who dwell within my domain. And I'm talking to people who I'm not even sure really dwell within my domain. It's like, do I know these people? No, not really in the real sense. But if they make it this far, then how could they not be my people? Right? I mean, you're here. Me personally, I have no idea to gauge whether or not there's any engagement at all. I'm just starting this venture. I got a plan. Imagine me telling people that I'm going to do this just to see their reactions. I deal with people. One of the things I was expecting was pretty much what I got. Advice. Maybe you should like do some marketing, advertisements. And this is why, let me give you an example of the level of mastery I currently have over my domain. Because people's words have influence over us. So I'm doing a test run. One of my test runs was just recording and doing this, and then that would be the test run. Another kind of test run for another aspect, because I understand domains have aspects to them, and I make sure I cover those aspects before I tell myself that I have a certain degree of jurisdiction within that domain. So I know I'm smart, I know I'm capable, I know that I have a far reach, I know that I have mass appeal, I know that there are different parts of the world that are calling out for my addition. I know all these things. Do other people know that? No. So when I tell someone who I haven't known for all of maybe a month or two, like, they don't know me. Yeah, I'm just getting sick of the circus and the matrix. I'm thinking I'm just going to start my own YouTube channel and do my own thing. It sounds kind of radical. And it's like, oh, well, what are you going to teach? It's like, oh, just, I like to bounce around. I'm going to just drop keys for people and give them the tools they need to help them become better people. Whoever wants to become better people. Because I'm a person and I've been giving tools to people who do not need them. Someone who's conscious of their energy, and takes a lot of maintenance. I prioritize my maintenance of my energy. So now I'm hearing about marketing and advertisement. I don't got nothing to do with my domain. Marketing and advertising, what? Who am I? I just posted this on YouTube. The people don't know who I am. I got this whole thing planned out. Why do I have this whole thing planned out? Because I know how to think in terms of nature as real things go on. And not only that, when I set my aim, I don't set my aim in a way that's so far from reality that I lose energy trying to make steps towards that aim. And that's the difference between aim and accuracy, right? Because those are two different things. What I'm seeing a lot of is a lot of people have terrible aim and great accuracy. A lot of people have terrible aim and great accuracy. My accuracy is top tier. My aim is way better than that. So before I even start, we start on the same line. Because I start from a specific place within myself, technically, even though we start at the same time, I'm leaps ahead of you. And people feel that. The people who are outside of my domain and stick to the domain of lesser magic, they feel that. People who dwell in the domain of lesser magic, they feel that. And then all they have is lesser magic. So the relationship between the lesser magic and what I'm doing, which is personal power, is all you can do is make a suggestion. That's all you can do. And that goes for every person who is even thinking about walking the path, moving, making steps to make sure that they can walk the path. Personal power or the manipulator? Manipulator is lesser magic. I had a manipulator friend. He went mad trying to deal with me 10 plus years. I mean, I grew up kind of distant. I grew up, I'm living. I'm just confused by people and their abstractions. It's just like, I don't even know what that is, bro. I'm talking to a girl, like there's a girl I was really talking to in junior high school, and I liked her, and all I could do was, I couldn't engage with her fully because I was just shy of certain things that I didn't know I could say. Like, I don't know, like, how do I speak I don't know. But I managed to get some data from her because she thought that I was cute, and then I was like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, and that was great for me, and I had interactions with her, but I didn't have anything that was a trophy. And I was growing up realizing that there's all these abstractions of trophies, and you gotta get to the sex, or that men set lines, for goals as to the women, and it's action based. Like something has to happen, like you have to get something from the woman, and usually that's a physical thing or something like that. And manipulators are good at that, man. They're really good at that. But one thing they're not good at is just being. They can't do that. And I mean, if we're gonna go to scale, right? I mean, on a very small relative scale, I was dealing with a manipulator as a person, and they're living life, trying to learn society's already established things to do, as far as society is concerned, and I'm trying to learn the things that nature intended me to do. So I'm looking at the way things unfold. I'm analyzing how things come to manifest at a very young age. Because that was where my mind pointed to power beings. Like, I don't know, and there was a point to where she expressed to me, like, hey, you need to change your clothes. I'm like, I come here, I wear jeans, I wear a plaid shirt almost every day. Plaid has different designs. I got jeans. I don't care about clothes. So much so that to change it for this girl just didn't sit well with me. And when I look back, I started realizing that it wasn't so much that I had trouble with women, it's just I was mature. And I was dealing with things in a mature manner, battling the most immature ethic. That's it. So I'm coming, as a person, just thinking how trees, oh, that's a woman. She probably wants to be respected because she's a person too. In my ethic, I would just have a conversation where, even though going back in time, I didn't have that capability to just have a conversation because nerves, right? It's like, what's happening to my hand? I can't make words. She's so close to me. And the manipulator, man. I mean, if all the guidance that I've got from the kinds of men that I've got was, strap up, wear a condom. That's no guidance. None at all. So if I was a kind of person who dips towards the sides of lesser magic and taking advantage of people and accepting things as they are, oh yeah, that would have worked great. Strap up. Well, that's actually good advice, because I'm acting in a manner to where strapping up is good advice. But that's not the case. That's not the case. Strapping up was not good advice to me, because at the time I was getting that advice, I had a capacity for an ethic that was so much more mature than that. And I needed that ethic because that was the ethic that fit with the capacity that I was able to hold. That's the ethic that points to something in my natural relative domain. It points to a place that I should be investing my energy towards. These are hints for me. And it's like, okay, I didn't, to me, it doesn't make sense that there's people who wouldn't respect women. But, I mean, it's probably the same for them. It's like, they got to download too. I mean, if everything they do works for them, I'm pretty sure I'm an alien to them too. And maybe going forward, I'll have to experience some similar unfoldings, but I'm accepting that as part of the human experience, especially since I'm realizing that I'm at a point to where I have to assert my domain.
And the reason why I haven't felt comfortable to assert my domain is essentially because there's been other domains that are completely different from mine that I feel I can't contend against. It's one voice against many. Is my voice the voice of reason? Yes. Did I use it? No. I mean, because I was young. That's a lot of... And I was also playing, like I said, I'm in a goo phase, right? Before I make myself solid, I'm goo, I'm fluid. I'm just trying to absorb all the elements before I can make something of it. So it's really not my fault at this time that even though I had my initial download, which is to respect women and treat them, lift them up, I have a friend that didn't defend me from the other kinds of ethics that were going around and values. And all of them degrading, because that's how that kind of thing works in the culture that I'm in. I mean, the culture that I grew up in is a very degrading culture. That's the culture that taught me about the world first. Assuming that I never left my domain of the culture, that would be my understanding of the world. But relative to me staying in one culture and viewing that as the whole world, it's not part of my domain. Absolutely not. I like to keep things general. So, because of my knowledge of the relative and the absolute, I'm actually able to play between them because I understand them. Because I understand them, I'm able to play between them. And there's no way to genuinely break rules in a way that's effective and efficient and non-damaging unless you understand them. It's different. You can be someone who's not a master at all and see someone who's a master doing certain things and you emulate it and it doesn't work. It's like, no, these elements that I'm dealing with here, I know where to place them. I can see the squares and put them in a square slot. I can see the triangle and put it in a triangle slot. I can do that. And that's why I'm not mad, and that's why I'm so happy right here. I'm so happy that I'm doing this video right now. Because as I continue to go along, I'll break away from all the things that limit my intelligence, limit my speech. There's a way that I filter my words that's catered to people less capable than me, based on how people less capable than me have reacted to me in the past. And I'm not the only one who goes through this. The problem that I'm solving, the problems, I'm not solving a specific problem, I'm solving a meta problem. I'm throwing keys out to anybody who has a door that needs to be opened. And part of me throwing the keys out is the fact that you have to pick the keys up. So when the Kabbalion says do not cast pearls to swine, now I have to ask, well, this great book decided to impart the knowledge of me to use my judgment to discern between whether or not people are swine. But I wasn't given any rubric or sort of concreteness to separate swine from saint. All I got was, don't cast pearls to swine. Well, how do I know a swine is a swine? How do I validate my definition of as a swine to reality? My opinion is an opinion. How do I know that my opinion is rooted in fact? I don't like that. It's too much finicky. And when it gets like that, it's easy for a manipulator to come in and you play on emotions, right? Play on the societal normalities, because that's what manipulators do. They learn the societal normalities and they play on them. But what happens when a manipulator runs into a person? They don't know what to do. Who are you dealing with? Akil. Well, who was Akil? You never met Akil before. Akil's doing things you've never seen before. Akil's saying he can do things you've never seen done before. I'm not saying I'm impervious to anything. I'm just saying the manipulator's going to have a hard time. I would love for people to get this. I would love for people to sit this and pick through different parts of the video. Just anything that stuck out to them. Just to get an understanding of the domain. That would be nice. I have to go. I love you guys. Peace and blessings. I will be back soon.